Friends, chapter 48, verse 1. Vayhi achrei hadvarim ha'eleh, and it was after these matters. Vayomer leYosef, and he said to Joseph, Hinei avicha choleh. We don't know who said to Joseph. Rashi is going to tell us who said it to Joseph. Chapter 48, verse 1. It was after these matters, and he said to Joseph, behold, your father is sick. Vayikach hashnei banav imo, es Menashe ve'es Ephraim. And he took his two sons with him, the sons of Menashe and the sons of Ephraim. So, hello, Eitan, come on in. Were you speaking to a friend out there?
Hello, just kidding.
Oh, okay, fine, perfect.
I was thanking him for
Okay.
opening the door.
So, the door was open.
Well, he held the door open.
Oh, there you go. Okay, Baruch Hashem. So chapter 48, verse 1 was after these matters, and he said to Joseph, behold, your father is sick. So what does that mean? That he said to Joseph, behold, your father is sick. Let's see what Rashi says. Vayomer Yosef. He said to Joseph, Echad min ha'magidim. One of the messengers said this to Joseph. This is an example in the Torah of what's called an abbreviated verse, because the Torah doesn't specify who is the one who said this. So one of the people there, so the Torah is just saying it was said to Joseph. Doesn't specify who it was. But the Yeshomrim, Rashi gives alternative explanation that some say Ephraim haya ragil lefnei Yaakov. Ephraim, who used to always sit there and study with Jacob, the Talmud. Ephraim was studying with Jacob, with his grandfather. K'shechol Yaakov, when Jacob got sick, Be'eretz Goshen, in the land of Goshen, Ephraim went to his father in Egypt to tell him. So that's the explanation so far. Hold on. Let me just say.
Wait, so it was Ephraim that was?
That Rashi offers two explanations. The first explanation is that it was Joseph, that it was one of the messengers who were there. Just a messenger came, he's just sent an email basically. And the second explanation is that it was Ephraim. Ephraim was accustomed to studying with Jacob, and then he was studying with him. He was having a study with Chavrusa, with his grandfather, with his Zaydi. And he went to tell his father that his grandfather was sick. You follow that, Bill? And Joseph goes to his father, who said, when Joseph hears his father sick, he takes his two sons with him. Why? He wanted them to be blessed before he died, before his death. So the footnote here is a very, very powerful explanation. Joseph surmised that his father would die of his illness, for until that time there was no such thing as illness in the world. The Talmud says that Jacob prayed that he become ill before he died, so he'd be certain to bless his children beforehand. So he prayed to become sick because he wanted to give his children a blessing before he died. So becoming sick is something that was an answer to our prayers.
As opposed to just dying immediately.
Yeah, as opposed to just dying. Yeah, it's a very powerful idea. Sickness is an answer to our prayers. That's it. So sickness is a blessing. Obviously, nobody wants to get sick except Jacob did. He said, I don't want to just die. I want to have an opportunity to bless. So we could say, we could just give the blessings every day. We don't need to get sick to give the blessings.
So if you are punished with current, which is an untimely death.
Yeah. So maybe you don't have that opportunity. Very good. Maybe you don't have the opportunity to do the bracha. Yeah. A very powerful point. Karet is maybe the lack of an opportunity to give a blessing. But you know what, I've seen drawn out illnesses, painful deaths, and
Yeah.
I think maybe
okay.
you don't want to get too sick.
Yeah.
You want to get a little sick. You want to get like sick enough to know that your end is near, but not sick enough to be in pain. Vayagel Yaakov, and it was told to Jacob, Vayomer Hinei bencha Yosef ba'elecha. It was told to Jacob, and he said, behold, your son Joseph is coming to you. Vayitchazek Yisrael Vayechi v'amitah. Jacob strengthened himself and sat up on the bed. What does that mean? Rashi says, Vayaged, Hamagil Yaakov, the one who told Jacob, who will perish me. And the Torah doesn't tell us who it was. There are many such verses. Yeah, because Rashi just told us that a second ago. So it's the same idea. Vayitchazek Yisrael, Jacob strengthened himself and he sat on the bed. Amar Afapishu Bini, Jacob said, even though he's my son, Melachu, I'm going to give him honor. Achaleko Kavod, he's a king, so I'm going to give him honor. Mikan Shachok Kavod L'Malchus. From here we see that you give honor to the king. This reminds me, they think it was the Maharam. His father insisted on standing up for him because he said he's the Gadol Ador, about the Maharam of Württemberg. But the Maharam of Württemberg didn't want his father to stand up for him. He said it's disrespectful to make my father stand up for me. But his father said, you're the Gadol Ador, I have to stand up. So you know what the Maharam did? He never visited his father from that point on because he was afraid that he was going to cause his father to stand up for him. That to me strikes me as like missing the point.
Yeah.
Missing the point. You know, I think the greatest honor would be to visit your father. But, okay. Vayitchazek Yisrael, Jacob was strengthened. Okay, fine. Rashi says, Moshe also gave honor to the king. As it says, he says, then all these slaves of yours will come down to me. So to Elijah the prophet. He girded his loins. So, meaning to say, he acted with enthusiasm.
There's an interesting parenthesis here in the English that when Moses was talking to Pharaoh, he really wanted to say that you yourself will come down, but because he respected him, he didn't say it.
Right, that's what the footnote here has. That Moshe gave honor to Paro because he told him the slaves would come down to him. In Exodus chapter 11, verse 8, but really it was Pharaoh. He just didn't want to say that. So Moshe spoke with honor to Pharaoh. Even though he's Pharaoh, even though he's a horrible person, a genocidal maniac, he still spoke with respect to him. And that's because the way we speak is more a reflection upon us than who we're speaking to. So we have to speak, even if we're speaking to a person who themselves is not worthy of respect, if they're in a position of respect, we need to speak with respect. Okay, so now we come to the next verse. Vayomer Yaakov el Yosef, Jacob says to Joseph, El Shaddai, Nirei Elai Beluz B'Eretz Canaan, Vayivarach Hosi. Jacob says to Joseph, Kel Shakai, appeared to me in Luz in Eretz Canaan, and he blessed me. Vayomer Elai, verse 4, and he said to me, Hineni ma'afrecha v'erbisicha, behold, I will make you fruitful and numerous. Unesaticha l'kahal amim, and I will make you a kahal amim, I will make you into a congregation of people. And I will give this land to your seed after you as an inheritance. Mr. Sheckman, Jerry, yes. Jerry,
Yes.
what's your question?
Yes, since God, the switching of the name Jacob and Israel, since the name Israel deals with the Am Yisrael, the people of Israel,
Yeah.
why does the Torah, in this in this pasuk use the word "and Jacob said to Joseph." It should be "and Israel said to Joseph," because God is talking about.
Well, we could say, yeah, I don't know, like, this is something that we've been spoke about a few times now, that there's a code here. And the Ramban tried to give us a explanation. We at the last share we had that we saw the Ramban's distinction. He goes through it to try and explain them all, but I don't have an answer that really explains every situation. So I don't understand why the Torah switches back between Yaakov and Yisrael. The Ramban gave one that he said that when it was Yisrael was talking about the national and Yaakov was the personal, but I don't really have a good way of applying it to every situation.
Is it in every parsha where Jacob appears that both names are used? Or only in certain parsha?
No, I mean, once his name was changed, we start to see it used interchangeably. Yeah.
Yeah, even at the golden calf, Moses mentions Jacob, not Israel. He says Zachor L'Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov, and that was definitely for the nation.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't have a good answer. So let's. I'm sorry, Jerry, I don't have a good answer.
Okay, thank you.
So we go on. We go to the Rashi. Rashi tells us to verse 4, I'll make you into a congregation of peoples. Rashi says, Bisrani shasidim what says me many od kahal amim. Hashem promised me that in the future, a congregation or peoples will come out from me. And even though he said to me, a nation, a congregation of nations, which would seem to imply that there were more than two tribes designed to emerge from him, a nation, one tribe, and a congregation of nations, another two. Nevertheless, Gaya Marwi al Binyamin, Kahal Gayim Haresh. He said a nation about Benjamin, and a congregation of nations, you have two, Mavadli Binyamin, aside from Benjamin. Veshuvo no Adli Bain, and no other son was born to me after that. So God was telling me that in the future, one of my tribes will be split into two. This is the present I'm giving you. Let me repeat this because this is a very important Rashi. Rashi is explaining from these words why Jacob had the ability to take Joseph's tribe and split him into two. How did he have that ability? Because it says, God told me that in the future, there will come out from me kahal amim, a nation, a kahal amim, goy kahal amim, a nation and a congregation of nations. So nation and a congregation of nations, goy was said to me about Benjamin, and kahal goyim was said to me, kahal goyim is a congregation of nations, that's two, aside from Benjamin. And then I never had anybody else. So I had a nation, a congregation of nations, but the nation is Benjamin. And then where's the congregation of nations that God promised me was going to be born? It must be, says Rashi, that Jacob says that in the future, I'm going to take one of the tribes and split it. But how did I know it was supposed to be you? Didn't tell me, but now I'm going to give it to you. Rashi doesn't explain how Yaakov knew he was supposed to be splitting Yosef. He doesn't tell us. Okay. Verse 5. Now those two sons that were born to you in the land of Egypt, until I came down to you, to Mitzrayim, to Egypt, Lihim, they're mine. Ephraim and Menashe, Kiruvaim and Shimon Yeli. Now your two sons that were born to you in the land of Egypt, until I came down to you to Egypt, they're mine. The Ephraim and Menashe are like Reuven and Shimon for me. What does this mean? Rashi says, Hano adim lecha v'gomer ad boi elecha. Ifnei boi elecha, before my coming to you. Komar shenal do misheparashta mimeni ad shabati etzlecha. That they were born from the time you separated from me until the time I came to you. Liyim, they are mine. Rashi says, Becheshbon sha'ar banayim. They are among the total of my other sons. Litol chelek ba'aretz, to take a portion of the land, ish kinegdo. So Ephraim and Manasseh will take portions in the land the same way as their counterparts, meaning they inherit as though they are the main children of Jacob. So they get primary portions, not portions as the child of Joseph, but portions in their own. So Joseph gets a double portion, basically. Okay. Yes, Jerry.
What does Rashi mean when he says, when God says, you have abandoned me or you've left me? What incident is Rashi referring to?
From when the time, not that you abandoned, that you separated from me, from the time Joseph went away, that they were born when you were separated from me. They were born when Joseph was in Egypt.
Oh, well.
It doesn't, did I translate it as abandoned? That would have been an improper translation. Parashta, Rashi says, means you were separate from me.
Yeah, well, that's my terminology. Okay, all right, thank you.
So verse 6, and those who are born after them shall be yours. They will be included under the name of their brothers with regard to their inheritance. So if you're going to give birth to other children, they're just going to go into Ephraim and Manasseh. Rashi says, "Im toid od," if you're going to give birth to more children. Lo yu binyamin banai, they will not. Lo yu b'minyan banai, they will not be amongst the number of my sons. Ela betoch shiftei Ephraim, they'll be included within the tribes of Ephraim. U'Menashe yu necholim, they'll be included among the tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh. Linyan v'lo hi lahem shem b'shvatim, they will not be considered to be a name amongst the tribes. Linyan hanachala, with respect to the inheritance. And even though the land of Israel was divided by the size of their tribes, meaning to say, Rashi is saying, what does it matter? Each tribe is divided amongst their number. And each individual who was going into the land got an equal portion, except for the Bechorot, except for the except for the firstborn. Meaning to say, if everybody's going to get a portion according to the number of according to each person, it doesn't matter whether Joseph's sons are to be considered as their own tribes or as part of Ephraim and Manasseh, because each individual is getting the same. The only ones which were called tribes are these, Ephraim and Manasseh. Meaning to say, they receive two separate portions in different areas of the land of Israel. The commentary on the Rashi, Mizrahi and Gur Aryeh, explains that each tribe had to receive a portion that includes certain features like mountains, plains, and valleys. So by receiving two separate portions, each of which have had all these features, the sons of Joseph came into possession of a more diversified territory than if they had received a single portion. That's a very, very important Rashi, because Rashi has to explain, well, if everybody from Joseph got a portion, well, what do we care if it's two tribes or one tribe? They're all getting one portion. So they say, no, they're getting the diversification, double diversified. That's a very important Rashi, very double diversification. But that is actually not made by Rashi. That was made by the commentaries of Rashi to explain Rashi, the Mizrahi and the Gur Aryeh. Okay. Rashi says, now Yaakov has a problem. When I came back from Padan, your mother Rachel, he doesn't say your mother, but Rachel died to me in the path of Canaan, Baderach, in the path, while there was still a beres of land to come till Ephrat. And I buried her on the way to Ephrat. He Beit Lachem. This is Bethlehem. Rashi says something very powerful. What does Rashi say? Rashi says something very important. Why is Yaakov talking about Rachel's death at this point? He's doing so because he has to justify why he's asking Yosef to bury him in the land of Canaan when Yosef's own mother was buried by Jacob on the side of the road in Bethlehem. So he says, even though I'm troubling you to bury me in the land of Canaan, and I didn't do that for your mother. I didn't bury your mother in Marat HaMachpelah, and he knows that Yosef might be concerned about that, so he has to justify it. But we're going to see more about that in the Rashi. Rashi is going to bring down more about why Yaakov how Yaakov justifies not burying Rachel there. Kivras Eretz, Midas Eretz. The Kivras refers to a measure of land. Veim Alpayim Amot. It's 2,000 Amot. Kemidat Tchum Shabbat, like the measure of the Tchum of Shabbos. Kidivrei Rabbi Moshe Darshan. According to the words of Moshe Darshan, Tchum of Shabbos is 2,000 amos from the end of the city. Rashi says, Yaakov says, don't say that the rain stopped me from going there to bury her in Hebron, in Marat HaMachpelah. Because it was a dry season. Rashi says that Yaakov was saying, don't say that the only reason why I didn't bury there because it was the dry season. No, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I buried her there. Very, very important Rashi. Why is Rachel buried on the side of the road? One of the most important Rashis. Rashi says, why didn't I didn't even take her to Beit Lechem. I buried her on the road there. Why didn't I even bury her in the land of Canaan? I know that you have hard feelings against me. You want to know why didn't I not bury her in the right place? You should know. I buried her there on the basis of God's word. I want her to be support for her children. When Nebuzaradan would exile them, Nebuzaradan was Nebuchadnezzar's soldier who destroyed Bnei Yisrael. And they were passing by the way of Rachel's grave. Rachel would go out on her grave and she would cry. She would pray for mercy, as it states, a voice is heard in the heights. God will respond to her. There'll be reward for your actions. The children will return to their borders. So why is Yaakov says the reason why I buried Rachel outside the land of Canaan on the way to Beit Lechem is because when the Jews will be exiled and they'll be in distress and nobody will be comforting, Rachel will come out of her grave and she'll cry for them and she'll request mercy for them. And Hashem will respond to Rachel's tears. Okay, so we'll stop the recording here and we will